What's up? Lucci produced. What's up? What's up, everybody? Thank you for coming through. If you're listening live, if you're watching live, thank you for being here. If you're watching back, also thank you for being here. If you're listening on podcast platforms or Twitter or Twitch or wherever else we're live, thank you for being here. Over on YouTube, do me a favor one time. Hit the like button. That greatly helps me in the algorithm. Yeah, let's check out. So, I'm not waiting up until 2 a.m. for this. So my 2 a.m. Where the hell you at, man? RC4, Ricky Council is your most disappointing player this season for the 76ers. Ricky Council? Listen, let me tell you something. If Ricky Council never existed, the 76ers would have sucked greatly this year, just like they sucked greatly this year. That's how... Disappointing, sure, but important, not really. You got to go disappointing, and then you got to go importance. You know, there's an equation here, and I'm going to tell you all of my answers. And then we'll just chill and talk about some other NBA news and things that happened in the play-in tournament last night, and, you know, all that, man. We'll just chop it up for a little while here. Get rid of Embiid and Georgia, rebuild with a young core. Well... problem with that is you can't do that. How can you get rid of them? You owe them $400 million until 2029, and there is exactly 0 NBA franchises that want anything to do with either of these guys right now. Trade Embiid and George for Kevin Durant. We'll talk about that. I have a little bit of a segment with some Zion Williamson, Kevin Durant talk, because every year until Kevin Durant retires, there is Kevin Durant trade talk because, you know, he's just floats around the NBA like a gypsy looking for a home. Never really has one. And I'm not trying to trash Kevin Durant, but really interesting NBA career. I can answer that second question now. No. The Orlando Magic have 0 chance against the Boston Celtics. T6 says... T6, what's up, man? Thank you for being a member of the channel, by the way. Shout out to all the members of the channel. Please get Zion on a team that's not the Pelicans. We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it. Hot take, Quentin Grimes will be an all-star next year. That is a hot take, Gunna, and I think the issue with that is scoring opportunity, you know? Because, you know, the 76ers, the Philadelphia, if healthies, right? So, if healthy, Quentin Grimes wouldn't get the opportunities to be an all-star. If not healthy, which I assume the 76ers will probably not be healthy because they're never healthy, Quentin Grimes would get the opportunities needed to become an all-star. So we'll see. Rob R with the super chat, man. Who was most disappointing? Why was it Paul George? Is that what the title should be? Who was the most disappointing and why was it Paul George? Well, a lot of people on Twitter have said that the answer is Joel Embiid, man. So let's talk about what we think and why we think that. Shout out to everybody for coming through. Embiid and PG won't play. Lottery year, top 4 protected pick. You're already projecting a lottery year next season. Wow. Are the Sixers looking toward a couple of lottery years in a row while paying out one of the highest payrolls in the NBA? Wow. I don't rule anything out, man. But yeah, anyway, I came up with this topic of who was the most disappointing who was the most disappointing player for the Sixers this year because I came across this yesterday on the internet. Every team's most disappointing player, and Hoop Central had Paul George listed for the 76ers. And you can go look at this for all the other players on all the other teams that they listed. Somebody did point out on Instagram that why the hell is TJ McConnell listed for the Pacers? He's 32 years old, and you shouldn't be expecting too much from. That's a weird one. There's some odd ones on here. Scotty Barnes for the Raptors. I don't know what people expected Scotty Barnes to do with that roster. Scoot Henderson, I agree with that. He's pretty disappointing. Gabe Vincent for the Lakers. You guys remember Gabe Vincent used to torch us when he played for the Miami Heat, and now he went to LA. He took more money to go to LA. I actually think he took less money to go to LA because he wanted to contend, and then he disappeared into the void forever. Jaime Jaquez, I guess Miami expected him to take a bit of a jump. Brandon Pajemski, I guess the Warriors expected him to take a bit of a jump. He was Dario Saric, process legend, the most disappointing player for the Denver Nuggets. Wow. But anyway, yeah, that's what started this conversation. And so I figured let's just go list all of what I think, let's take the most disappointing players for the Sixers this season and put them in order, in particular order, from least disappointing to most disappointing. So we'd first have to go to the roster, and we would have to decide which players on the roster were disappointing in the first place, right? So you can't really throw in any players who came after the trade deadline or were surprisingly fun to watch, like Quentin Grimes, Jeff Doughton Jr., Jared Butler, Lonnie Walker, Justin Edwards can't be on there. Obviously, he was a pleasure to watch after finally getting playing time, being undrafted. Jared McCain was an absolute joy before the meniscus tear. Gershon Yabusele, with the just not knowing what he was really capable of coming from the EuroLeague. We knew his body of work in the EuroLeague, but I would say he was surprisingly great at times for being a one-year player who was given a chance after showing up in the Olympics and dunking on LeBron James. Adem Bono was fun to watch the second half of the year after Nick Nurse finally started playing him after he played Andre Drummond and Yabusele at center and started the season 3-15 and tanked from the beginning accidentally. Which, by the way, there is a lot of people that didn't watch the 76ers season, and they expose themselves all the time by claiming they were tanking. What did you expect? Like when they try to defend Nick Nurse or whatever, they were tanking. What did you expect? What did you expect them to do with the tanking roster and all this stuff? They weren't tanking from the beginning of the season. They were terrible. They were trying to win, and they were very bad, and a lot of it had to do with coaching. A lot of it had to do with personnel. Another thing is, somebody said, if they were healthy, everything would have been different. I don't think so. I think this roster was assembled absolutely terribly outside of the big three, and Daryl Morey admitted that 2 days ago in that press conference. But even if the Sixers were healthy, Joel Embiid, Paul George, Tyrese Maxey, and Jared McCain coming off the bench, they still wouldn't have been good because they have no depth, they have no transition defense, and they suck at rebounding. The team outside of the stars was terrible. Just not good. No real 3-and-D guys, no real backup power forwards, no real utility guys with size. Just a bad roster all around. But anyway, there's 8 players who were disappointing, and we're going to put them in order from least disappointing to most. And at number 8, I believe I have Eric Gordon. Eric Gordon was terrible on this team. And, he had spurts where he would hit some threes. But outside of randomly hitting 3 to 5 3-pointers in a game, Eric Gordon was downright terrible in every other way you could imagine. Anytime he tried to drive to the rim, he looked like a 59-year-old man driving to the rim, throwing the ball up over the backboard. I mean, a lot of times, if you just go back and watch Eric Gordon trying to score in the NBA at this point, he kind of looked like you know how like a 5-year-old throwing the ball at a Fisher-Price hoop. You know what I mean? That's what Eric Gordon looked like to me. Now, I know he was signed just to spread the floor and just to be a catch-and-shoot guy with Joel Embiid on the floor. I get the thought behind signing some of these players. But, like, you have to also understand and expect there to be a lot of minutes without Joel Embiid, because Joel Embiid has sat more games than he has played in the NBA. And so the Eric Gordon signing was just terrible. In theory, if Joel Embiid miraculously had the most healthy year of his career, it makes sense, but he's never healthy. So the fact that, taking in the fact that he's never healthy, Eric Gordon was a terrible signing. And he was also just way worse than we knew he was. I mean, he just has nothing left. He does have a player option that I guess he's not going to pick up because it's lower than the league minimum will be this upcoming season. Somebody out there is going to give Eric Gordon a minimum contract, I guess. Please, just, see you later. And you throw in the whole Nick Nurse is just obsessed with playing old guys. You got to get rid of him. You got to get rid of him. You got to get. We're in another Doc Rivers situation. You have to not. The beast is the coach loving to play older players, so you can't feed the beast by giving him a bunch of old players. You have to give him nothing but young athletes and leave him with no choice. Like the end of the season, he had no choice. Or that 5-game win streak in January when he was actually playing Justin Edwards and Adem Bona and the guys that had some athleticism, and they were winning games because he had no choice. So, yeah, anyway, Eric Gordon is my number 8. Number 7, who else did I have as potentials? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah. Number 7 and 6 is going to be between Ricky Council and Kelly Oubre, and I think they're basically going to be a tie, but Ricky Council can be 7. Kelly Oubre can be 6. Ricky Council was disappointing, yeah, because as somebody said in the chat in the beginning of this stream, we expected him to take a little bit of a leap forward with extended playing time. He looked so good at times last season before the playoffs, and then the Sixers gave him the guaranteed contract to be able to use him in the playoffs, and Nick Nurse didn't use him in the playoffs because he's Nick Nurse. But he did not only did he not take a leap forward, I feel like with extended playing time, he took a step backwards in development. I want to be fair. A lot of these young guys like Ricky Council, they need a system. They need to have a role, to be a specific type of role player. And when he's in a situation where he gets to just play that specific role of athletic guy, fly up and down the floor, try to get rebounds, try to play defense, he's a decent addition to a team. When he's given more opportunity to handle the ball and shoot the ball, he is horrendous. It's like Mark Sanchez in the NFL. You let him be a backup for 2 games, you'll be like, hey, Mark Sanchez pretty good. Mark Sanchez pretty good quarterback. Here, you give him 3 games, butt fumble. You give him 3 games, he starts running directly into the ass of his offensive lineman and fumbling the ball without anybody touching him. I always go back to Mark Sanchez. I love roasting Mark Sanchez. Yeah, that's Ricky Council, man. And he was disappointing this season. And he was one of the worst shooters in the entire NBA. Kelly Oubre was also one of the worst shooters in the entire NBA. Another player that's good when he plays a specific role. When there's no role, no plan, when everybody's injured and you're just throwing these guys out there, they're going to try to do more than they're expected to do. And they're going to try to do more than they're able to do. And that was Kelly Oubre this season, especially the beginning of the season with Caleb Martin and Kelly Oubre. They were trying to pick up the pieces because there was no plan. That we didn't know we were going to be playing without Paul George and Joel Embiid. So they were like, Nick Nurse was like, I don't have a plan actually, so I don't know. Go out there and try to score. And Caleb Martin looked terrible, and Kelly Oubre looked terrible, and Kelly Oubre finishes this season also as one of the worst shooters in the entire NBA. The 76ers had 2 players on the 30 worst shooters in the NBA this season. They had 0 players on the top 30 shooters in the NBA this season, and one of those players was Isaiah Joe. So there's my first 3. We got 5 left. Let's see what we can do here. We are going to go with who else is in the potential disappointment. I guess I'll put Kyle Lowry next. I don't know why I expected anything from Kyle Lowry, but I was saying, 2 years ago, Kyle Lowry starting at point guard with Tyrese Maxey at shooting guard wasn't terrible. But Kyle Lowry was 38 at the time. And Father Time with sports starts to just speed up and go faster and faster and faster and faster. And Kyle Lowry from age 38 to age 39 looks like a 10-year gap. He went from kind of washed to completely unplayable. I cannot for the life of me believe that Nick Nurse continued to play him. The amount of minutes that he continued to play him. You have to get rid of these politics. You have to get rid of this favoritism. You can't run an NBA team like this. I think you have to fire Nick Nurse. I don't think bringing in another coach fixes the actual issues with the roster, but one of the issues with the team in general is this coach playing favoritism to guys like Kyle Lowry and older, veterans. Number 4 is going to be my new best friend who really, really likes my Twitter takes, Andre Drummond. Andre Drummond we signed because we had rebounding issues. We thought, he'll be a good backup. Again, the whole problem was expecting Joel Embiid to be healthy. The whole problem with everything was that you built the whole roster expecting Joel Embiid to be healthy. And apparently they're going to do it again, which is going to be a disaster again. But yeah, we thought Andre Drummond was going to be a solid backup to Joel Embiid. He called himself the best rebounder in NBA history. He was a great rebounder for many years. He was never a good defender. He was never a good rim protector, but this season in particular, he completely fell off a cliff as far as defense, rim protection, and even his rebounding was not really that great when he was in there. He looked, for the most part, completely washed. He does have a $5 million player option that I expect him to pick up because nobody else is going to pay him $5 million after what he looked like last season. Maybe somebody will. I mean, DeAndre Jordan is still playing basketball, and he looked washed 3 years ago. Maybe it's just the fact that Sixers players look washed, and then they go somewhere else, and they're not washed anymore. It's probably the fact that this franchise is just horrendous all around. But Andre Drummond is going to be my number 4 right there. My number 3 is going to be Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey was generally disappointing this season because I thought that, first of all, I thought without Joel Embiid, but just with Tyrese Maxey and Paul George leading the way, the Sixers could still win a lot of games. And even when Paul George and Tyrese Maxey were on the floor, that straight up was not the case. They could not win basically any games against basically any team in the NBA. And that, of course, has a ton to do with the supporting cast and Eric Gordon and Kyle Lowry and Kelly Oubre and Ricky Council and Andre Drummond. It's a terrible roster. It's a terrible roster. You know what I mean? But I did think I was going to see a little bit more floor raising from Tyrese Maxey. And if you go back to the beginning of the season, and a large part of it was also that there was no plan, just like a lot of these other guys. And Nick Nurse was like, hey, Tyrese, sorry, I don't have a plan. The plan was for Joel Embiid to be healthy. I don't have a plan. I'm not going to actually make another plan. So please just go out there and try to score points. I think Tyrese Maxey didn't have the correct approach for the first half of the season. If you look at his stats, he shot 32% from 3. He shot 9 threes per game. Some of these games he was chucking like 12, 13, 14 three-point attempts. I don't think that's what he should have been doing. He really just went out there and was like, fuck it, I'll just chuck shots. And that's why his percentages were so bad. That's why, they couldn't beat anybody. And so I think you would have liked for Tyrese Maxey to kind of morph into a little bit more of a playmaker and a floor raiser in the situation that he was thrown into. Not that it's fair that he was thrown into that situation, but he just didn't do that. He's a great scorer. I think in the right situation with the right roster and the right plan, he can still be a great scorer. I do see a lot of Allen Iverson in Tyrese Maxey. You need to put him in the Allen Iverson role. If you put Allen Iverson in his prime on this roster, the roster that Tyrese Maxey played with, same thing would have happened. He would have just chucked shots and they wouldn't have beat anybody in the league. Seriously. If you really look at the roster construction and the plan and how he was used with Larry Brown and Eric Snow as the facilitator and the supporting cast and the defensive roster, and obviously Tyrese Maxey is not the talent that Allen Iverson was, but he's also just not being used to his strengths at all. But I still want to put him on this list because I think people expected him to morph into a little bit more of a playmaker, and he just flat out didn't do that. And he just really just chucked shots, and they couldn't beat anybody. Number 2, obviously it's a toss-up between Joel Embiid and Paul George. Joel Embiid this season, outrageously disappointing because he wasn't healthy and the Sixers were lying about him being healthy. But even when he got on the floor, he was incredibly disappointing. It's different because was he injured the whole time? Like when he got on the floor, he didn't look like himself at all. He didn't look even close to 100%. He didn't look even 75%. He never looked 75% in any game that he played this season. Part of it probably is his conditioning. A lot of people would point to Kawhi Leonard. Oh, the doctor that did the Kawhi Leonard surgery did surgery on Joel Embiid. Yeah, well, Kawhi Leonard is in, look at him, amazing physical condition all the time. Joel Embiid is just not. And it doesn't seem like he's ever taken his physical conditioning seriously. But he's also 7'2", 280 pounds. Even when he was in great shape in college at 245, he broke his foot twice. What's the answer here? But I'm going to give Joel Embiid a little bit more of a pass than Paul George because he just looked injured the whole season. He did not ever look healthy. The most disappointing player on the Philadelphia 76ers this season was quite easily Paul George. And if there are any Paul George defenders out there, I think I've actually found the one player that does not have a stan base. He doesn't have any fans. Nobody really likes Paul George. So nobody really defends it, but if somebody wanted to defend it, they could say, well, he was injured too. He hyperextended his knee in the preseason. He had a groin. He had a finger. He had a whatever else. Okay, but even when Paul George was healthy, the body language was terrible, embarrassing, inexcusable a lot of times. Some games where he was out there with Tyrese Maxey, he just looked like he did not give a shit. He looked like, I'm a max guy, but I'm a role player. He looked like he just wants to be a role player, but you're getting paid $50 million a year. You're on a max contract. You're not a role player. When Joel Embiid is healthy, you were supposed to be the second or third go-to scorer. But without Joel, he never looked like he tried to take a step up and say, okay, I'm going to lead the team now. I'm going to do something. Look, where's the pride? Where's the dignity? Where's your manhood? He just doesn't have it. He does not have the want or the will to be that guy. He wants to be an overpaid role player. It's insane how similar Paul George and Tobias Harris actually are. And so Paul George, pretty easily, to me, the most disappointing player this season because even when he was healthy, he never tried to step up and be the guy. He just takes a back seat. I mean, when you're driving the lane and kicking it out repeatedly to Kelly Oubre smothered in the corner, shoot the fucking ball. You are a max contract player. Shying away from contact, passing the ball to G League players in the corner. Paul George was a complete bum this season and is definitely the most disappointing 76ers player this season. There's my list. Let me know what you think. Let me know what you think, man. He's just he's supposed to be a more efficient Tobias. The fact that he became a less efficient is wild. I will say Tobias Harris is Tobias Harris. He's always been the same player. But now that he's on the Detroit Pistons and is not being paid like a superstar, nobody talks about it because he's just a role player. He's being paid like a role player. What Tobias Harris is being paid this season in NBA terms is what Paul George should be being paid this season. The Clippers offered him 3 years, $150. He didn't even want to take that. He thought he was worth more than $50 for 3 years. He thought he was worth more than Kawhi Leonard. Are you kidding me? Kawhi Leonard is putting the Clippers on his back right now. And the Sixers paid him more. Unbelievable malpractice by Daryl Morey. But yeah, that's my list, man. What you guys got to say, man? Two things can be true at the same time. Paul George has injury problems, but he's also washed. Exactly. Did you see what Lil Dicky said about the Sixers on Goals Arenas? Lots of people sent me that. I don't want to be rude or anything, but I don't give an absolute shit what Lil Dicky said about the Sixers on Go. Why would I care what Lil Dicky said? No, I don't care at all. I heard a little bit of it. He was taking a positive take on it because he's not a hardcore Sixers fan. He's from the outskirts of Philly, sure. He pays attention here and there, and when they're bad, he's like, well, we can look at it in a positive light if this happened or that happened. No, stop it. He's not he wasn't watching the games. I don't give a damn what he said. Why'd you just say Jared McCain will be a Hornet soon? Why would that be? Problem is Maxey isn't a promising young star anymore. He's a max contract player and needs to act like it. Well, he just turned 24 years old, Rob, so he still is a promising young player. The thing is, NBA rookie contracts come up very quickly, and you sign players based on potential. You don't sign... that's just not the case. You don't sign a player at 24 years old and say, now you need to lead us to an NBA championship. Name me... how many players... well, they signed him to the extension at 23, by the way. Name me how many players at the age of 23 or 24 led an NBA team to a championship. 0, probably? How many? How is Maxey top 3? Well, you showed up late, buddy. You gotta go watch the stream from the beginning to find out my reasoning. What else I want to talk about? A couple things keep popping up, okay? This keeps popping up. Shout out to my guy Jacob Moreno. But this is going to be all off season because the Pelicans are expected to try to trade Zion Williamson. Would you trade for Zion Williamson? That's something we're going to talk about. The Suns are going to trade Kevin Durant. So, of course, the yearly offseason of Kevin Durant trade rumors is about to happen. And then I have a couple of takes on the NBA play-in tournament. And can the Orlando Magic beat the Boston Celtics? But first, this is brought to you by our friends at Game Time Ticket app. Well, there's no more 76ers tickets to buy because the season's over. But Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that takes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play live even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals. And so you don't have to waste your time searching through thousands of tickets. We can go to the Phillies right here and look at from $19, you can see the San Francisco Giants play the Philadelphia Phillies tonight. And Game Time tickets get cheaper as you get closer to the event. Some pretty good seats, man. These are some pretty good seats for 7. Is this in Philly? $76 and you're right behind the catcher? Hey. Can we get, what's the closest we can get? 152 right there? Those are damn good seats for that price, man. So check out Game Time. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app. Create an account. Use code CLNS for $20 off your purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account. Redeem code CLNS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets. Lowest price. Guaranteed. Should the 76ers try to trade for Zion Williamson this season? Fuck no. That is the answer to this question, and there is no other correct answer to this question. Zion Williamson has everything that Sixers fans don't want in an NBA player. A terrible attitude, a terrible dedication to the game, a terrible dedication to his physical fitness, and he's never healthy. He has everything on his player card that the Sixers keep getting. He's the exact, if you're looking at, if you were from the outside looking in and said, what team should Zion Williamson play for? Yeah, he should play for the Philadelphia 76ers because he's the exact type of player the 76ers keep signing. Absolutely not. Unless you really do want it to be the if healthies. The Philadelphia if healthies. Then you could say, oh, we got Joel Embiid, he's always hurt. We got Paul George, he's always hurt. We just added Zion Williamson, he's always hurt. Yeah, the Philadelphia if healthies on paper. The Philadelphia on papers. That's what the team name is now. And if it was just a game of playing cards or it was 2K my team, yeah, we got 4 really good cards. We win. No, you actually have to put the player on the floor and play the game. Absolutely not. Should we look at the proposed trade offers for Zion Williamson in these replies? Do I even want to do that? Let's refresh it just to get the up-to-date version. I'm sorry, no on this one. Thank you. I'd do Embiid or Paul George, our 2025 pick unless it's first, and 2028. CJ, where are you? CJ, show yourself. I know you're in this live stream right now. CJ, when you hear this, go to your room. CJ, go to your room. You are grounded because this is ridiculous. Okay. Do I want to get rid of Paul George? Yes. Do I want to get rid of Joel Embiid at this point of his career? Probably. 2025 pick unless it's first. You think I'm giving up Dylan Harper or Ace Bailey to pair with Maxey McCain Grimes to add Zion Williamson to this team? Are you being serious? And the Clippers 2028 unprotected. I'm not trading that pick maybe for anything. And I love the fact that Daryl Morey has held on to that pick. I'm not trading that pick for anything. Hell no. Why do people act like these players are not who they actually are? Again, this player, Zion Williamson, is a player who got injured in college, got injured in the NBA plenty of times, had weight issues, right? The Pelicans told him, you're not playing until you get under 300 pounds. He had trouble getting under 300 pounds. Like, that's a fact. That's an actual thing that happened. Okay? Also, he got in a scandal with a porn star who exposed him on Twitter. He has no dedication to the game. He has no self-control even outside of the game. He can't get his weight right. He can't stay healthy. And I almost forgot to say this. What I dislike most about Zion Williamson, even more than getting in a scandal with a Lil' Kim-looking porn star, There's an interview with Zion Williamson where he is healthy, and he said, I'm just not on the floor yet because I don't feel like myself, and I don't want to take away from the team if I don't feel like myself yet. Zion Williamson was actually sitting out games because he didn't feel like himself. Do you understand the soft mentality of these NBA players today? These guys with that mentality will never win anything. This is the same reason Ben Simmons is about to be out the league. Mentality. These guys have no resiliency. They can't overcome any adversity at all. I don't feel like myself, so I'm not playing yet. Are you fucking kidding me? That is loser energy. Hell no to Zion Williamson because of his mentality more than anything else. No. There's the right answer right there. Iverson the Great says, I have $3. Do we have a trade proposal? Paul George, Ricky Council, 2 firsts and a second for Zion and Herb Jones. Hey, you might have convinced me with bringing along Herb Jones. You might have convinced me. Also, like, we keep throwing the Sixers in these conversations. Why would any of these teams want to deal with the Sixers? Why would the Pelicans be like, we're going to trade Zion Williamson for Paul George, who has 3 years, $50+ million a year left on his contract? Why would they? They're trying to get rid of Zion because they don't believe in him. And if they don't believe in him, it's a bad contract. So they're going to take an even worse contract in return? I don't see that. No, it's not happening anyway. But absolutely not to Zion Williamson. That is my take. Is there anyone in this live chat, if you think Zion is less valuable than Embiid, you are delusional? Okay, who said that? Who said Zion is less valuable than Embiid? This is like, walking down the street, right? And you see 2 different guys that are ready to punch you in the face. And you say, you know what? For no reason at all, I'm going to choose that guy to punch me in the face because it looks like it's going to hurt a little bit less than that guy. But you could just walk right past them and not get punched in the face. Zion being more valuable than Joel Embiid does not mean he's valuable at all because his loser mentality and he can't get on the floor. Eastwood, remember the narrative around Kawhi before he went to Toronto? There was major red flags with him too, but he haunted us he was already a champion. Kawhi Leonard was one of the greatest San Antonio Spurs players of all time before he went to Toronto. Jesus H. Christ. Jesus H. Christ. I love you guys. I love you guys for giving me content. I really do. Thank you for the comments, even if I violently disagree sometimes. But yeah, that's a no to Zion Williamson. What should we talk about next? Kevin Durant? I'm tangled up in my cord, man. Should we talk about Kevin Durant to the Sixers? No, we really shouldn't, but it's a Wednesday. The Sixers are done. There's nothing for me to really talk about, so let's talk about it. Kevin Durant to the Sixers. Well, first of all, another pipe dream if you're hoping to get rid of Paul George or Joel Embiid. The Phoenix Suns are in absolute turmoil. The only franchise that's in worse shape than the 76ers is the Phoenix Suns. They spent $680 million last offseason to miss the playoffs. They have some of the worst. They have the worst contract in the NBA on the books. Bradley Beal, who has a no trade clause, who also thinks he's better at basketball than Drew Holiday. If you guys heard that story, he said that there was a rift between Budenholzer and Bradley Beal because Budenholzer asked him to play more like Drew Holiday, which is funny on both ends because Bradley Beal can't play like Drew Holiday because he's too small and doesn't play defense and isn't the facilitator that Drew Holiday is, or probably the shooter at this point. The Suns are in absolute turmoil, and they're not taking back bad contracts. The Suns are not taking back bad contracts. It's not what they're doing. They're trying to get rid of Kevin Durant, and they're trying to rebuild around Devin Booker as quickly as possible. They're expected to extend Devin Booker to a 2-year, $150 million extension, which will have him paid $75 million a year. So they're basically like, this didn't work. We got to go back to what we had before we traded for Kevin Durant, which is funny because they were in the NBA Finals before they traded for Kevin Durant because they had the team built the right way and trending the right way. They had Chris Paul. They had Cam Johnson. They had Mikal Bridges. They had a facilitator. They had wing defenders. They had a star scorer in Devin Booker. They had DeAndre Ayton was playing out of his mind because of Chris Paul. Chris Paul was a huge reason for all of that, but they had a built roster. This whole... Dude, when are these GMs going to get over the 2012 Miami Heat formula? You're not. Nobody's LeBron James. Nobody's Dwayne Wade. Nobody's Chris Bosh. These guys are so obsessed with this, fuck all the strategy, forget defense, forget depth, forget role players. Let's put 3 all-stars on the same team and we'll be great. They have no clue what they're doing. This is what Daryl Morey is still obsessed with. Forget depth, forget youth, forget rebounding, forget transition defense, forget athleticism. Let's put 3 all-stars on the same team and we're going to be good. Even though the number 1 is never healthy, the number 3 is no longer an all-star level player. I just don't get it. But anyway, the Suns aren't taking back bad contracts, so it's not going to happen anyway. Would I do it? Sure, because what does Kevin Durant have left on his contract? What's Kevin Durant's contract? Kevin Durant contract. 4-year, $194 million contract with the Brooklyn Nets, which means that should be up soon, right? Are we not gonna go? Is that what's happening here? There we go. He has 1 year left. Oh my God. They're not trading for Paul George. He's expiring, bro. You think the Suns are going to trade Kevin Durant, who has 1 year left on his contract, to take on 3 years of Paul George? Nah. I guess I would say, what would I say? What do you say in the chat? Would you trade? Here's what I was going to say. If you were going to try to trade Joel Embiid and you felt like you could convince NBA franchises that he's healthy, would you trade Joel Embiid for Kevin Durant right now? My answer in a vacuum is yes, only because Kevin Durant can still play at a high level. Kevin Durant was healthy all last season, and Kevin Durant has only 1 year left on his contract. And if you don't win with Kevin Durant, boom, he's gone. Now you're off the Joel Embiid contract, and you can move forward with the new regime of Maxey McCain, Grimes, Bona, Edwards, another top draft pick this year, hopefully. Knock on wood. I would trade Joel Embiid for Kevin Durant right now, strictly for contract reasons. And I think if you're looking at a Sixers Kevin Durant trade. That's probably the only way you could do it. If they feel like they can get 3 years out of Joel Embiid, but they probably don't because he's never healthy. Paul George and picks for Kevin Durant. Why would they want Paul George? Why would the Suns want to get rid of a guy that has 1 year left on his contract to pay Paul George $150 million over the next 3 years? Why? I mean, it is the Phoenix Suns, though. It's not like they're smart now that I think about it. This is a team that said, you know what? Let's give up 6 second-round picks for the worst contract in the NBA, Bradley Beal. How did they not know the Bradley Beal deal was terrible from the start? You already had 2 on-ball scorers in Devin Booker and Kevin Durant. All you needed to do was try to put defense and catch and shoot guys and rebounding around them. Instead, you sold the farm for a guy who can't defend anybody and is really just a 30-point per game scorer on the Washington Wizards because it was the Wizards. Oh, my. But yeah, if you look at the history of how dumb the Phoenix Suns have been, then I guess it's not impossible. Would I trade Paul George for Kevin Durant? Yes. I don't see why they would do that. Would I trade Joel Embiid for Kevin Durant? Yes. I don't see why they would do that. Pinky P and Street Clothes and Embiid were the most disappointing. I agree with that. No team in the world would take Paul George or Joel Embiid. Also, the way that Daryl Morey was talking about Embiid and Paul George, which I expected, was in the context of running it back, because Daryl Morey is never going to admit that he made a terrible mistake. The only reason he traded James Harden is because James Harden requested a trade. Daryl Morey was never going to say, I gave up too much in a trade for James Harden. This didn't work. We need to move on from. He never has the self-reflection to say, I need to fix this issue that I created. You need to fire Daryl Morey. He was good drafting GM. He found some diamonds in the rough. I'll give him credit for that. He does not know how to build a winning basketball team, which is why he's never been to an NBA Finals. And he doesn't have the self-reflection to fix the misses that he has. He's just going to double down because he has a major ego, because he thinks he's a genius. To fix any of the Sixers' issues, you got to fire Daryl Morey, and they're not going to do that because Josh Harris doesn't give a shit. I don't know, dude. But yeah, I'm no on Kevin Durant, man. Beal makes not work. If they don't go for Beal and keep CP3 while drafting a point guard, they would be fine. That's why Josh had to make the trade himself. Oh, I forgot about that, bro. It was rumored that the Sixers ownership were the ones that traded James Harden. You're right, man. Daryl Morey was ready to sit on that for years. He was going to refuse to trade him just like he refused to trade Ben Simmons. Remember when he was on the radio and he was like, this could take 4 years. He said that to 97.5 The Fanatic on the radio, Mike Missanelli. He said when Ben Simmons wanted out, he said, this could take 4 years. He did not care. He was not going to give in. And same thing was about to happen with James Harden. And the owners traded him. To trade Embiid, he needs one successful surgery and to come back at a decent level and play for most of the season. But also, if Joel Embiid has a successful surgery and comes back and plays at a decent level, they're not going to trade him because Daryl Morey's going to think, I can get to the NBA Finals and fix my reputation by showing everybody I was right. It's just never going to happen. Anyway, let's talk about the NBA play-in a little bit and what we think about some of these upcoming series. The Warriors won last night, barely, Um, 38 points from Jimmy Butler, 37 from Steph Curry, and they still barely beat the Memphis Grizzlies. That's not a good sign for the Warriors. Trae Young got ejected. I'm so happy at how the NBA is handling Trae Young right now. Listen, game 1 of the play-in tournament, Trae Young, the biggest flopper in the history of this game, got ejected because he was frustrated with the officials. Do you know how happy that makes me? I'm so tired of watching these guys flop around like a fish to get free throws, ruining the game that I love. And the first playoff game of the year, the biggest flopper in the last decade, gets so frustrated with the lack of calls that he gets ejected from the game. I love that. I love that so much. And so I saw all the clips of Trae Young getting ejected, right? But I was like, why was he so frustrated? I really hope it's because he was trying to flop and they weren't giving him calls, and that's exactly what it was. 2 possessions in a row before he gets ejected. The Atlanta Hawks are down by 16 points right here. Look at this. This is what he does. This is what started his frustration. And this is the same thing Jalen Brunson does every game. This is what he did in that playoff series with the Sixers that ended the damn thing because Kelly Oubre wouldn't stop falling for this bullshit. But Trae Young, 5 minutes left in this game, tries this slide left, stop on a dime, jump backwards into the defender. Like, you see what I'm saying? This is not an NBA shot attempt. And I'm so glad that these officials aren't calling this a foul. He's because intention is everything. You know, like Trae Young fans, Hawks fans, they'll say it's technically a foul. He goes straight up to shoot the ball, defender runs into his back, it's technically a foul. And maybe it is technically a foul, but intention matters. This is what the NBA has to get right. Intention matters. And you can see his intention. He's not intending to get a shot off. He's watching the defender behind him. He's intending to slide in front of the defender, stop on a dime, to try to draw a foul to get 3 free throws. It's absolute garbage. It's one of the biggest problems with the NBA today is players that play like this. I'm glad they didn't call it, but they need to start fining players that play the game this way. Stop foul hunting. Go try to score, because this is a product we're trying to sell. And guess what? The people paying to watch it don't want to see this garbage. Anyway, I'm so happy that he didn't get this call right here. And then the very next possession, he got shoved out of bounds after a missed layup late and hit the bottom of the backboard. That's when he got pissed off. Then they were down by 20. He put the ball through a player's legs just to show off a little bit. Threw the ball at the referee, got a technical foul. Then he kicked the ball down the other side of the court, got a second technical foul, and got ejected. So, well done, NBA, for sending a message to little flopping trolls like Trae Young. We're not calling it. Try to score or do something else. We're not giving you 3 free throws for stopping and jumping backwards. And he got so frustrated because he's so used to playing the game that way. He didn't know what to do. And he got himself ejected from the game. The Atlanta Hawks are terrible. Trae Young might be the most overrated, air quotes, all-star in the league. And now that his superpower of drawing fouls is gone, he basically has nothing left. Interesting that the Hawks, that we thought they were going to try to trade Trae Young this offseason, and they traded DeJounte Murray instead. I wouldn't have done that. But yeah. So now the Orlando Magic play the Boston Celtics, and I guess we'll talk about... We got a couple super chats, man. Thanks for being here. I still believe if Bob Myers is GM, the Sixers are saved. I think so too. I just have a fear that the owners are not trying to save the 76ers. They're trying to save money. You know why they backed out of the arena being built in Chinatown, right? Because the revenue started to tank. You can't build a brand new arena and restructure the whole center of the city and cause all of these economical potential issues or whatever if you're not going to profit. You need the city to be excited for the team and excited for the new arena. The city's not excited for the team, so they back out of the arena deal. I just don't think they're trying to save the Sixers, man. I hope it happens. I hope it happens, man. Would you rather have Walker or Oubre be the first off the bench? Honestly, man, I love Kelly Oubre's energy. I like what he brings as a utility guy alongside a solid roster. But as a bench player, I'm going Walker because of his flat out like ball handling and scoring ability. Where Kelly Oubre is just kind of I don't know what to call Kelly Oubre, man. He's a wild card, man. He's a 30% shooter. He's just not a guy that you want to be relying on in certain situations. And I don't think he's a guy that you want to be coming off the bench as like a microwave scorer. He's not. Kelly Oubre's not like a guy that you should be going to really in any lineup as a scoring option. Pretty wild to say that I would take Lonnie Walker over Kelly Oubre, but thinking about like coming off the bench, you want a guy that can give you buckets. And I think I'm over the Kelly Oubre experience, man. I think I am. I think I'm over the Sixers experience. And my camera's over this show as it has frozen now like 5 different times. Yeah, I think I'm over the Sixers experience. Before I get out of here, let's talk about can the Orlando Magic compete with the Boston Celtics? Y'all give me your takes in the chat, man. People have answered Kelly Oubre as the answer to that in the chat. A says he'd rather have Kelly Oubre. Sudlush says he'd rather have Kelly Oubre. JJ, for some reason, is talking about Joel Embiid being a flopper as we're talking about Trae Young. Okay. That is called deflection. That's what that's called. Yeah. Anyway, before we get out of here, can the Orlando Magic beat the Boston Celtics in a playoff series? The answer to that, sadly, is no. Obviously, they can't beat the Boston Celtics in a playoff series. They can't beat the Boston Celtics in a game, I don't think. The Boston Celtics have essentially the same roster they had last season with the addition of Kristaps Porzingis because he was injured last year. They did this with basically without Kristaps Porzingis active. They went 16-4. What did they go in the playoffs? First round they beat the Heat 4-1. Second round they beat the Cavs 4-1. Conference finals they swept the Pacers and they won the finals 4-1. 4-8, 16-3. And now, yeah, I want someone to knock off the Boston Celtics so bad. It's not going to be the Orlando Magic. The Magic might not even get one game, man. If we look at the Magic's season, I was looking for, I'm searching for a way that I can say the Magic have a shot. And I can't find one. If you first of all, Jalen Suggs went out with the ACL tear, right? And so there's a scorer that they're down. Mo Wagner also out for this season. There's a rebounder, hustle type of guy, toughness type of guy that they're down. And then you really look at their season, man. The only win streaks they really went on were against the worst teams in the NBA: the Pelicans, the Wizards, the Hornets, the Pacers, the Sixers. The Phoenix Suns, Lakers, Pistons, Hornets, Bulls, Nets. Who did the Magic really beat this year? Miami Heat. They did beat the Celtics a couple of days before the Celtics lost to the Sixers on Christmas Day, but the Celtics were like, it's Christmas time, bro. We don't care about basketball right now. They lost every time they played like a slew of contenders. They went on a losing streak. Again, Charlotte Hornets, Atlanta Hawks, San Antonio Spurs, Sacramento Kings, Washington Wizards. Like the Magic are like a step above mid, but just not very good, man. Not good enough to beat the Boston Celtics. Not only in a playoff series, they did beat the Celtics again on April 9th. Maybe the Magic win one game if the Celtics take a night off. If the Celtics have one of those games where they're like, they shoot 78 threes, they shoot 20% from three or something like that. But the Orlando Magic are not. Magic can do it. Why not? Brown is out. Jaylen Brown is out. What do you mean Brown is out? What's Jaylen Brown out for? What are we talking about? Jaylen Brown injury. What do you mean Brown is out? It sounds like the Celtics aren't too worried about Jaylen Brown's knee. I'm not subscribing to the Boston Globe. What is that? Jaylen Brown's injury news. Recently, Jaylen Brown received a notable injury update regarding his knee. Drew Holiday recently spoke about Brown's injury, sending a clear message the fans want to see. Nobody's worried. He looked good to me. JB is going to JB terms of not showing weakness. Yeah, I mean, what are we talking about? Are we just making stuff up now? What are we talking about? Everyone seems like Jaylen Brown's not hurt. But even without Jaylen Brown, the Orlando Magic are not winning a game. They're winning one game, and it's going to be the one game that the Celtics take a night off and shoot 20% from three. Other than that, they're not winning a game. We got to be honest here. That's 4-1. That's 4-1. No, even if Jaylen Brown is hurt, it's still that's 4-1. Orlando's not even competing with Boston, and that sucks. What other series have we got? This one's big time right here. The reason this is big time is that I don't think the Golden State Warriors can beat the Houston Rockets. And by the way, I'm 2 for 2 on the play-in games. I got the Warriors right, barely escaped the Memphis Grizzlies, and I got the Magic over the Hawks right. I'm 2-0. I told you guys I'm predicting every series 100% accurately. So far, day one, 100% accurate. But realistically, the Warriors needed 38 from Jimmy Butler and 37 from Steph Curry. They don't have, Jimmy Butler's doing this like, I get to play Robin to Batman and all this stuff, but realistically, you're going to need more than just that, because just a couple days ago, like last week, the Houston Rockets held Steph Curry to 3 points in 36 minutes. The Houston Rockets are a defensive powerhouse, and they're going to slow down Steph Curry. If you just go back and watch what they did in that game where they held him to 3 points, they threw the kitchen sink at him because they know Brandon Pajemski's not going to cook us. You know what I mean? The Warriors don't have enough outside of Steph Curry to survive this playoff series. I got the Hawks in 6. And if you're a betting man, the Warriors are favored in this playoff series. I think that's insane. But a lot of these odds are not made by people that really intently watch what's going on. They just see Steph Curry, Warriors. Warriors were a dynasty that won all these championships. Houston Rockets are a younger team. The Warriors added Jimmy Butler. Warriors are favored. Bro, they barely escaped the play-in tournament. The Rockets are the number 2 seed. This is one of the best defenses in the NBA. Ime Udoka's about to win Coach of the Year. I don't think Houston's going to get all the way to the NBA Finals, but I do not think the Golden State Warriors have enough to contend, because I think Houston's going to throw the kitchen sink at Steph Curry every single game of the series. I would put some decent money on Houston if they're actually an underdog. If the Warriors somehow win that series, then I'm going to shut up forever. That just seems very unlikely to me. That seems very unlikely to me. Yeah. Is that all I wanted to talk about? I think it is. I think that's all I wanted to talk about, man. Yeah. All right, well, listen, thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for giving me your opinion on all the things. We got a couple more play-in games tonight, man. What are the play-in games tonight, man? Let's see. NBA scores. What's today? Wednesday? Heat, Bulls, Mavericks, Kings. Can DJ Eastwood go 4-0 in the play-in tournament? I'm 2-0 right now. Oh, what did I say yesterday? I forget what I said. Who in the chat remembers what I said? What did I say? Heat or Bulls? What did I say? I think I said Heat. Man. I kind of want to change it. Does anybody remember what I said? I kind of want to change it. Am I allowed to change it? Am I allowed to change my pick? Rockets haven't played playoff Butler. Jimmy Butler doesn't average 38 points a game in the playoffs. He had 38 last night. They're going to need 38 from him every single night. I said the Heat. Damn. I kind of want to change it to the Bulls, man. Am I permitted to change it to the Bulls? Or do I have to stay with the Heat? No, I made the prediction. The Heat are who I predicted. I got to stick with the Heat. That was who I predicted. I got to stick with it. I think I said that's the one that I might get wrong. Mavericks, Kings. I took the Kings. Heat over Bulls, Kings over Mavericks. DJ Eastwood goes 4-0 in the play-in tournament. When do the loser games happen? Which, by the way, I said the play-in tournament sucks. I don't think it entirely sucks. Because the games yesterday were good. These games, meh. And then the loser games, dude, they got to get rid of that. Who wants to watch the Hawks play again, man? Nobody. So who do the Hawks play then in the loser bracket? The Hawks will play the loser of the Heat Bulls, right? Yeah. Wow. Do people really want to watch a Bulls Hawks play-in game to get the 8th seed? To get smoked in the first round? Bro, we got to see a Hawks Bulls game and the winner gets 4-0'd by the Boston Celtics or the Cleveland Cavaliers, whoever. I don't even remember who's number 1 and 2. Are the Cavs a 1 seed? Yeah. Either way, dude. Oh my God. But I'll probably watch them because I'm just a sicko like that. Yeah, that's all I got, man. Thank you guys for hanging out. Thank you for coming through. I appreciate it, man. I'll try to do these lives as often as I can. I have a lot of fun doing it. I hope you guys have a lot of fun listening, watching, tuning in. Thank you for participating in the chat. Hit the like button for me one time if you haven't. 148 people in here. Shout out to everybody watching on Twitter, Twitch, and I'll talk to you soon.